Let's learn the world countries and their capital cities. Afghanistan, capital city, Kabul. Albania, capital city, Tirana. Algeria, capital city, Algiers. Andorra, capital city, Andorra la Vella. Angola, capital city, Luanda. Antigua and Barbuda, capital city, St. John's. Argentina, capital city, Buenos Aires. Armenia, capital city, Yerevan. Australia, capital city, Canberra. Austria, capital city, Vienna. Azerbaijan, capital city, Baku. Bahamas, capital city, Nassau. Bahrain, capital city, Manama. Bangladesh, capital city, Dhaka. Barbados, capital city, Bridgetown. Belarus, capital city, Minsk. Belgium, capital city, Brussels. Belize, capital city, Belmopan. Benin, capital city, Porto Novo. Bhutan, capital city, Thimphu. Bolivia, capital city, La Paz. Bosnia and Herzegovina, capital city, Sarajevo. Botswana, capital city, Gaborone. Brazil, capital city, Brasilia. Brunei, capital city, Bandar Seri Begawan. Bulgaria, capital city, Sofia. Burkina Faso, capital city, Ouagadougou. Burundi, capital city, Bujumbura. Cabo Verde, capital city, Praia. Cambodia, capital city, Phnom Penh. Cameroon, capital city, Yaoundé. Canada, capital city, Ottawa. Central African Republic, capital city, Bangui. Chad, capital city, N'Djamena. Chile, capital city, Santiago. China, capital city, Beijing. Colombia, capital city, Bogota. Comoros, capital city, Moroni. Congo, capital city, Brazzaville. Democratic Republic of the Congo, capital city, Kinshasa. Costa Rica, capital city, San Jose. Croatia, capital city, Zagreb. Cuba, capital city, Havana. Cyprus, capital city, Nicosia. Czech Republic, capital city, Prague. Denmark, capital city, Copenhagen. Djibouti, capital city, Djibouti. Dominica, capital city, Roseau. Dominican Republic, capital city, Santo Domingo. East Timor, capital city. Dili. Ecuador, capital city. Quito. Egypt, capital city. Cairo. El Salvador, capital city. San Salvador. Equatorial Guinea, capital city. Malabo. Eritrea, capital city. Asmara. Estonia, capital city. Tallinn. Eswatini, capital city. Mabane and Lobamba. Ethiopia, capital city. Addis Ababa. Fiji, capital city. Suva. Finland, capital city. Helsinki. France, capital city. Paris. Gabon, capital city. Libreville. Gambia, capital city. Banjul. Georgia, capital city. Tbilisi. Germany, capital city. Berlin. Ghana, capital city. Accra. Greece, capital city. Athens. Granada, capital city. St. George. Guatemala, capital city. Guatemala City. Guinea, capital city. Conakry. Guinea-Bissau, capital city. Bissau. Guyana, capital city. Georgetown. Haiti, capital city. Port-au-Prince. Honduras, capital city. Tegucigalpa. Hungary, capital city. Budapest. Iceland, capital city. Reykjavik. India, capital city. New Delhi. Indonesia, capital city. Jakarta. Iran, capital city. Tehran. Iraq, capital city. Baghdad. Ireland, capital city. Dublin. Israel, capital city. Jerusalem. Italy, capital city. Rome. Ivory Coast, capital city. Yamoussoukro. Jamaica, capital city. Kingston. Japan, capital city. Tokyo. Jordan, capital city. Amman. Kazakhstan, capital city. Astana. Kenya, capital city. Nairobi. Kiribati, capital city. Tarawa. Kosovo, capital city. Pristina. Kuwait, capital city. Kuwait City. Kyrgyzstan, capital city. Bishkek. Laos, capital city. Vientiane. Latvia, capital city. Riga. Lebanon, capital city. Beirut. Lesotho, capital city. Maseru. Liberia, capital city. Monrovia. Libya, capital city. Tripoli. Liechtenstein, capital city. Vaduz. Lithuania, capital city. Vilnius. Luxembourg, capital city. Luxembourg. Madagascar, capital city. Antananarivo. Malawi, capital city. Lilongwe. Malaysia, capital city. Kuala Lumpur. Maldives, capital city. Malé. Mali, capital city. Bamako. Malta, capital city. Valletta. Marshall Islands, capital city. Majuro. Mauritania, capital city. Nouakchott. Mauritius, capital city. Port Louis. Mexico, capital city. Mexico City. Micronesia, capital city. Palikir. Moldova, capital city. Chisinau. Monaco, capital city. Monaco. Mongolia, capital city. Ulaanbaatar. Montenegro, capital city. Podgorica. Morocco, capital city. Rabat. Mozambique, capital city. Maputo. Myanmar, capital city. Naypyidaw. Namibia, capital city. Windhoek. Nauru, capital city. Yaren. Nepal, capital city. Kathmandu. Netherlands, capital city. Amsterdam. New Zealand, capital city. Wellington. Nicaragua, capital city. Managua. Niger, capital city. Niamey. Nigeria, capital city. Abuja. North Korea, capital city. Pyongyang. North Macedonia, capital city. Skopje. Norway, capital city. Oslo. Oman, capital city. Muscat. Pakistan, capital city. Islamabad. Palau, capital city. Ngerulmud. Panama, capital city. Panama City. Papua New Guinea, capital city. Port Moresby. Paraguay, capital city. Asuncion. Peru, capital city. Lima. Philippines, capital city. Manila. Poland, capital city. Warsaw. Portugal, capital city. Lisbon. Qatar, capital city. Doha. Romania, capital city. Bucharest. Russia, capital city. Moscow. St. Kitts and Nevis, capital city. Basseterre. St. Lucia, capital city. Castries. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, capital city. Kingstown. Samoa, capital city. Apia. San Marino, capital city. San Marino City. Sao Tome and Principe, capital city, Sao Tome. Saudi Arabia, capital city, Riyadh. Senegal, capital city, Dakar. Serbia, capital city, Belgrade. Seychelles, capital city, Victoria. Sierra Leone, capital city, Freetown. Singapore, capital city, Singapore. Slovakia, capital city, Bratislava. Slovenia, capital city, Ljubljana. Solomon Islands, capital city, Honiara. Somalia, capital city, Mogadishu. South Africa, capital city, Pretoria. South Korea, capital city, Seoul. South Sudan, capital city, Juba. Spain, capital city, Madrid. Sri Lanka, capital city, Colombo. Sudan, capital city, Khartoum. Suriname, capital city, Paramaribo. Sweden, capital city, Stockholm. Switzerland, capital city, Bern. Syria, capital city, Damascus. Taiwan, capital city, Taipei. Tajikistan, capital city, Dushanbe. Tanzania, capital city, Dodoma. Thailand, capital city, Bangkok. Togo, capital city, Lomé. Tonga, capital city, Nuku'alofa. Trinidad and Tobago, capital city, Port of Spain. Tunisia, capital city, Tunis. Turkey, capital city, Ankara. Turkmenistan, capital city, Ashgabat. Tuvalu, capital city, Funafuti. Uganda, capital city, Kampala. Ukraine, capital city, Kyiv. United Arab Emirates, capital city, Abu Dhabi. United Kingdom, capital city, London. United States, capital city, Washington, D.C. Uruguay, capital city, Montevideo. Uzbekistan, capital city, Tashkent. Vanuatu, capital city, Port Vila. Vatican, capital city, Vatican City. Venezuela, capital city, Caracas. Vietnam, capital city, Hanoi. Yemen, capital city, Sanaa. Zambia, capital city, Lusaka. Zimbabwe, capital city, Harare. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye bye.